So, daylight savings is coming. Do not stress. Your sleep and your baby's sleep will be just fine. Trust me, trust my process, and you'll get through it. Hey guys, my name is Missy Yando. I'm the owner of Slumber and Bloom. I'm a certified pediatric sleep consultant and potty training coach. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I always share videos on sleep training, potty training, and all things motherhood. So, subscribe to my channel, click the bell so you don't miss any videos. Without further ado, let's jump right in with a drum roll. Daylight savings. I feel like we just fell backwards. Now we're springing ahead, and I mean, more daylight. Woo! I'm excited. I know a lot of people hate daylight savings time, but I'm all about longer days, later nights, all the fun things during the summer. So whatever, we can adjust to 1 hour time change, right? We can. So while we are springing ahead, in order to prepare for this, we're actually gonna pull your child's schedule back if we're going to prepare ahead. So I'm getting ahead of myself. You have two options here. One, you can do nothing, okay? You could do absolutely nothing, but why would you be watching this video if you don't wanna do anything? The second thing that you could do is prepare ahead of time, and I'm gonna lay out the entire process for you day by day, okay? So before I jump into the entire step-by-step, day-by-day process, I wanted to kind of talk about the options with doing nothing and planning ahead. So if your child is not affected by change, if traveling, teething, sickness, all those things don't really affect them and they're still happy-go-lucky and their behavior and their demeanor doesn't change, even when their sleep is a little bit off and their schedules are a little bit off, then you could probably go with the do nothing and just adjust their schedule after the time shift has changed. Now, if you have a child on the other end of that spectrum and your child is highly sensitive to being overtired, you have to like really calculate their wake windows, because if they're overtired, then their sleep just becomes a hot mess. If they won't sleep in the car and then they're messed up by travel sleep, if things like growth spurts and mental development leaps and all of these things throw, you know, a wrench into their sleep, then you definitely want to take this a little bit slower and plan ahead for daylight savings. So with that being said, I am gearing this video towards those children who are a little bit more slow to warm up and who need a little bit more time to adjust to changes, okay? So if that's not your child, totally fine, not offended, click off the video and go watch something else on my channel. Now, if this is for you, what we're going to do is we are going to work backwards to shift your child's schedule so that by the time daylight savings happens and we're moved forward, that your child will be back on regular time. And I know, oh my gosh, like seriously, this concept, sometimes it just blows my mind, and I really had to I have my notes down here because I had to write this all down and just make sure that everything made sense in my brain. I made sure it made sense to my husband, and I'm like, I need to simplify this and make this as easy as possible. So first thing you need to do is download the PDF chart in the description box down below. This is going to break down every single day for you, okay? Now, grab your calendar because we're gonna check it out, okay? So for the sake of ease here, I'm going to say that your child typically on a regular day wakes up at 7 a.m. Once daylight savings happens, it's gonna be 8 o'clock. But what we are going to do is move your child backwards to 6 a.m. is going to be their wake up time, so that by the time the time changes, they're back at 7 o'clock, even though it feels to you like 8 o'clock. I hope I broke that down very well for you. So we're starting at 7 o'clock, okay? Pre-daylight savings time. So you got your calendar out, right? We are moving your child's entire schedule, and your child's entire schedule is going to start with when you wake them up in the morning. It's also going to include their naps. It's also going to include bedtime. So everything is being moved 30 minutes earlier. Okay, keep following. On March 6th, instead of waking your child up at 7 a.m., you're going to wake them up at 6:30 a.m. You're going to do that March 6th, March 7th, March 8th. So instead of 7, you're now at 6:30, okay? So that's March 6th, March 7th, March 8th. March 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, you're waking up at 6 a.m. Now, by the time March 13th comes along, clocks change at 2 a.m. and you are now waking up your child at what is now 7 a.m. Okay? A lot of times people will think, okay, daylight savings happened, so 7 o'clock is now really 8 o'clock. But what we're doing is we're adjusting your child's schedule ahead of time so that they have time to adjust to it a couple days. We're just doing 1 week before the time change so that a couple days before the time change, they're really just backing up their internal clock. They're changing their circadian rhythm so that they're still waking up at the same time by the clock. So we do have to change their internal clocks by 1 hour, and we're doing that over the course of the week in half-hour increments so that we're getting them back on regular by the clock time. I really hope this makes sense. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if this makes sense to you. Okay? If you feel like you have a very sensitive child who is sensitive to all of these changes, then you may want to take it a little bit slower and go in 15-minute increments. If that's the case, then watch the video that I made last year, because in that video, I talked about making the changes in 15-minute increments. But chances are you really don't have to do it in 15-minute increments unless your child is highly sensitive to change. Another thing that you 110,000% need is blackout easy window covers. You cannot have an ounce of light coming into your child's room because it's going to be brighter earlier. So do yourself a favor, black out that room before the time change happens. Just trust me. Link in the description box down below. I do get some kickback. I think I get like $5, so really, I don't really care if you use my link. But blackout easy window covers, I swear by them. I will not use anything else. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is that when you're changing your child's schedule, okay, so you need to give them 2 to 3 weeks to adjust properly to these changes. So yes, we are proactively changing their schedule slowly and not just jumping into the time change, but you still need to give 2 to 3 weeks for your child's internal clock to catch up with them. So you may very well experience some sleep issues. You might have early morning wake-ups. You might have some bedtime battles. You may have some short naps. You may have refused naps. You may have middle of the night wake-ups. You may experience all of these things still, even though you're planning ahead, because your baby is changing their entire schedule by a full hour. Now, usually I say a half-hour buffer is not going to make or break your baby's day, which is why I'm changing things in a 30-minute increment for you. So it should not have such a huge impact on your child's day by switching their schedule by 30 minutes. But if you're noticing that it does, slow it down. Watch last year's video and only take it 15 minutes at a time. Yes, that means it's going to take longer for this entire process, but that's okay. Stay consistent with your new schedule. So once daylight savings has happened, just jump into the new time. Do not mathematically challenge yourself and say, well, it's 7 o'clock. It used to be 7 o'clock yesterday, but now it's 8 o'clock today. So then if it was 7 o'clock yesterday, then nap time should be at blah, blah, blah. Like, no, okay? When it's 7 o'clock when the times change, it's 7 o'clock when the times change, done. Time change, done, okay? The best thing that you could do is get your child outside, expose them to daylight. They need the vitamin D to help them produce melatonin at bedtime. So the more daylight and sunshine you can give your child, the more they're going to adapt and change their internal clock to this new time very quickly, okay? It really should only take 2 weeks, really maybe 3 weeks to really settle in to their new schedule. All right, I hope that you guys learned a lot from this video. I know it is packed full of information and numbers. Slow it down, watch it again, download the chart down below, share it with your friends who may be like really stressed out about daylight savings, and let me know in the comments down below how this schedule worked for you. I can't wait to hear about it. In the meantime, when you're waiting for my next video, check out these videos over here, click this button, subscribe to my channel, and keep blooming. Mwah.